What's going on? Morbid Morgan, back with another video, and you guys know what's up. Today we're going to be talking about my 10 favorite EPs from 2018. Now, 2018 was a really stacked year, so there was a lot of great stuff to sift through, and I'm sure I missed like most of the best stuff, but I think the 10 releases that I have right here are going to be a very solid supplemental EP list for someone maybe in the future who was wondering, I wonder what was going on in heavy music in 2018. If they stumble upon this video, I feel like I'll be doing them a service, and I hope that I'm able to do these releases justice when I describe them. So, without further ado, number 10 is Chamber with Hatred Softly Spoken. Now, Chamber are a band from Tennessee, which from my outsider's perspective seems like a pretty healthy, like burgeoning hardcore scene. 3 acts I can think of off the top of my head who are like making significant metallic hardcore right now, being 30 Nights of Violence, Chamber, and Orthodox. So Chamber are in good company, and they're playing a style of metallic hardcore that you'll probably be familiar with if you've heard the band Vane. And I don't want to get too deep into this comparison because, spoiler alert, I'm actually going to be talking about Vane's LP from this year in my, next video. So I don't want to make this into a Vane review or anything, but you guys know that Vane plays a spastic, jumpy, sometimes glitchy style of metallic hardcore that's influenced maybe by industrial rock or like nu metal. But mainly drawing influence from the metallic hardcore of the 90s, with bands like Converge being like the most obvious one. Chamber basically take this sound that Vane kind of run with, and they take these electronic elements that Vane incorporates into their music, but rather than having them sound glitchy or trying to like draw parallels between the music and some sort of technology or whatever like that, they basically take these elements and, just distort them into this really weird and dark thing that helps just envelop the entire EP in this strange and eerie atmosphere, kind of like you're in some sort of chamber. But yeah, I would definitely check this out. It's pretty good stuff. So next up, we're going to get on to number 9, and this one is an EP called Burning Desire to Draw Last Breath from a band called Gulch. Now, if you guys know about Gulch, you'll know they play somewhat of a raw, hardcore punk style. But this isn't like your normal like D-beat. I feel like this is some hardcore punk that's maybe coming from a little bit of like a power violence background, or these guys are like grindcore fans or something like that, because the production on this EP is very gritty and it's very raw, and the way the vocals sound makes me think that these guys are listening to maybe like black metal or something, because they're super shrill and high. And the production and the vocal qualities alone are enough to make this EP a pretty unsettling experience. But also, I feel that I need not mention that this EP has some pretty sick artwork as well. Yeah, I would definitely check it out. Alright, next up we got number 8, Repulse, with their EP Frail, which came out within the past few weeks. I don't know if social media and the fact that people are making tons and tons of album lists and everything is like pushing artists to release music later in the year, or maybe I'm just finding a lot of good stuff because I've been having my lists on the brain and trying to really sift out the best stuff I can find, or if it's just a coincidence that I've been finding some good stuff recently. This one was actually sent to me by my friend Ryan, so shout out to Ryan. Basically, they kind of mix two styles. They mix your traditional filthy fucking grindcore with some catchy and energetic hardcore that still sounds really dirty. Like, the hardcore that I would compare this to would be like Joy's EP that they released maybe a couple years ago at this point, and the grind comparison I would draw would be like Vermin Womb, if you've heard their EP. It's pretty similar. Ryan described them as Vermin Womb with a shorter attention span, which I can kind of give him that because this EP is like 10 minutes or less, I think. But it's a very fun listen, and I would totally recommend it. Now, coming in at number 7, we have probably the most straightforward hardcore EP on this list from a band called Iron Curtain. This EP is called The Road. So this is 4 tracks of some, pretty standard hardcore, incorporating some blast beats, incorporating, some fast passages that lead up into these breakdowns. I mean, essentially, you're not going to hear anything revolutionary on this thing, but I still think it's really solid. And kind of the ambiance of this EP is enough to give it an edge over a lot of comparable releases. I think it clicks really well. I think this band has a good direction, and I just enjoy the hell out of this EP. So, give it a shot. Alright, with number 6, we have Ramu with Glowing Civilization. So, basically, this one was a no-brainer for me. The instant I heard it, I knew it was going to end up on this list because it's just an interesting project, in my opinion. You have the drummer from Merzbow, like the guy who plays drums with Merzbow, the guitar player from Maruda, and also Dylan Walker from Full of Hell is on vocals. So, this instantly was going to be an attractive thing to me just because I dig Full of Hell. So I checked it out, and it's really neat because if you've ever listened to Discordance Axis, you'll definitely hear some parallels between Inalienable Dreamless and this EP over here in terms of the riff style, because it's like high-pitched and kind of jagged grind riffing. But if you've heard Discordance Axis, you'll know that the vocals are like nah, 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 nah. I mean, I'm not doing them justice, obviously, like you have to listen to it to actually know what I'm talking about. But they do kind of have this one-note quality to them, even though that one note is pretty satisfying. It's like basically like hearing Dylan Walker sing over Discordance Axis and putting his own vocal like flavor into it, and it's just a really fun, exhilarating listen, and I would definitely recommend you guys to check it out and buy it and support Dylan Walker from Full of Hell, the best band ever. Alright, coming in at number 5, we have a very, very, very fun, youthful, energetic EP from a band called Mouth Breather out of New England. Now, save that in your mental filing cabinet, the fact that I said New England, because you're going to hear it again and again. New England's extreme metal and hardcore scene has been very prolific this year, so it's no surprise that there are a couple of releases from it on this list. But the EP is called Doll Meat, and this is just some almost mathy hardcore, kind of like grind influenced a little bit, but it's more like mathcore influenced. Mathy a little bit, not too mathy. It's not like, you know, it's not like Sectioned or, you know, Frontierer or whatever. This is some lightly mathy hardcore, and I think that the reason this feels so fun to me is because the band uses these intricate mathy riffs to kind of build this crazy ball of tension, and then the release comes from a devastating breakdown normally. And I just think that this approach to hardcore is like very impactful and makes for like sticky songs that you can remember. Like the third song on this thing, I think it's the third one, is called Anorexistentialist, which, first of all, best song title of 2018, and second of all, they kind of build up into this like nasty fucking breakdown where the guy's just going, murder everything, murder everything, and I don't know. That probably sounds like juvenile or goofy or just like stupid, but I think it's really fun and I enjoy it a lot. So yeah, definitely check out Mouth Breather. This is a very cool release, and it's definitely going to get some listens from me into 2019 and beyond. Alright, at number 4, we have Intensive Care's new EP, A Removal to Elsewhere. Now, this is going to be a hard one for me to describe, and it's definitely the biggest departure from like the trend that we've been seeing on this list, because this is like very non-traditional kind of experimental music. Most of the instrumentation is very sparse, very skeletal sounding, very eerie, and a lot of it is like electronic music or like sampling. Like, the opening track on this is called A Daily String of Letting Goes, and this track utilizes some downright creepy sampling techniques of just someone maybe like describing symptoms to some condition that they have, but these phrases are like distorted and edited in a way that just makes them sound like they're stuttering their way through it, and it's like, difficulty completing simple tasks. I don't know. It's something like that. You guys gotta listen to it to really understand it, because, I mean, I'm not even that good at describing straight-ahead normal music, so this one is gonna be a little bit rough, obviously, but check it out. I would also recommend that you guys check out the split that Full of Hell put out with Intensive Care this year. It's one of the only releases that Full of Hell had in 2018, so, I mean, I picked it up. So you guys should pick it up too.
Dude, I'm like advertising for Full of Hell in a video where they're not even on the list.
Now guys, we're getting into the heavy hitters of this list, the things that I'm definitely going to be carrying with me past 2018. Number 3, we have Invoke with their EP No Law Beyond. Now Invoke put out an EP in 2017 as well, so this was kind of a hype one for me. I was excited to hear it. The reason behind that being that Invoke are part of this group of bands that I've seen combining the sensibilities of hardcore punk, or just straight ahead hardcore, and death metal. Now this is a sound that's very attractive to me, being that hardcore and death metal are my two favorite genres, basically. I just think that the combination works very well, especially with like an old school Swedish guitar tone. These like rhythmic hardcore type of riffs translate really well into the death metal format, in my opinion. Invoke are basically like a hardcore band dressing up as a death metal band. And what I mean, I don't mean that in an insulting way at all, obviously. What I mean by that is that everything aesthetically screams death metal, but compositionally the music itself is pretty straight ahead hardcore. On its own, this would still be maybe a top 10 EP for me without all the death metal elements incorporated, just as its own thing as a hardcore release. I still would have dug this because, you know, the riffing, the breakdowns, it's infectious and groovy and fun, but the guitar tone, the ambiance, the death metal vocals, and the blast beats that are incorporated into this thing make it a top 3 EP of the year, in my opinion. Keeping with the theme of death metal, the only straight ahead, no bullshit death metal EP on this list is from a band straight out of New England called Vomit Forth. And Vomit Forth actually put out 2 EPs this year, one a self-titled and the second very recently called Inherent Laceration. And these 2 EPs are showing that death metal as a format does not need to be over-embellished or taken in a weird direction or made experimental or progressive in order to still be interesting. These guys are doing straight ahead, brutal, in-your-face fucking death metal, and they don't feel the need to add any frills or any strings attached. Like, this is straight ahead death metal, and it will bludgeon you to death. Vomit Forth are a very promising act, and I am super excited to hear what they have coming out in 2019 and beyond. So yeah, you guys, check out Vomit Forth. And finally, the number 1 EP of this year for me, Shroud with Crawl Because You Are Worthless. Now, this EP is fucking incredible. I think what I said about the Mouth Breather EP, how the jagged riffs build up this weird, you know, sense of tension in the music, and then you get the release from a devastating, heavy breakdown. This EP has tons of examples of that on it, but every single one of them outshines the Mouth Breather EP in every way. And coincidentally, I have the Mouth Breather EP to thank for me finding this band, because one of the songs on the EP is literally the URL to this band's Bandcamp account. So yeah, they're also New England band, so I'm assuming that these guys are associated acts of some sort. But Shroud fucking killed it. Shroud are one of the only bands I've ever felt completely confident and comfortable comparing to Full of Hell. I feel like they maybe listen to Full of Hell, but I can't know that, obviously. But while this album does kind of dip into some mature lyrical themes like, you know, having a broken family, psychedelic experiences, and having a job that grinds down your soul, there is a very youthful and energetic quality to these tunes, and that is what makes me feel like this EP is almost like lightning in a bottle. Like, I don't know if this band could top this EP, in my opinion. It's just that explosive. It's just that fun to listen to. It's less than 10 minutes, easily less than 10 minutes all the way through, but I can just listen to this thing 10 times in a row, and it works. The whole time it works, and it doesn't get boring at all, because the music is just so fucking snappy and enjoyable. But yeah, if you like extremity and you like just bizarre shit, and you like us, like a beatdown or just like a really fun groove, this is the EP for you. Yeah, this is actually probably my favorite release of 2018, regardless of format or genre. So, needless to say, I give this thing a ringing endorsement. 2 thumbs up out of 2. Print some shirts, guys. Also, Vomit Forth, print some more shirts. I want a shirt. Shroud, I want a shirt. Yeah, check all these bands and EPs out, but If you're going to only check out a couple or a few, check out the top 3. Check out Mouth Breather. Check out Ramu if you like Full of Hell. Check out Shroud if you like Full of Hell. I guess that's it. I'm going to wrap this up here. This has been my top 10 EPs of 2018, and I'll see you guys in the next one. It's been real, it's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun.